All right, we are going live. The room is opening. Participants are coming on. Welcome, everybody. We're going to give everybody a minute or two to get on here. Thanks for being here, especially now that everyone's back to work. I know it's really cool to do these Zooms and to get some education and to learn some stuff when we weren't doing a lot of business. But now there's a lot of business being done. So for you guys to still be taking time out of your day and showing up and to be here and learning and hearing what we're talking about, that is super, super awesome. Cool. All right. And we are now on Facebook Live, streaming in as well. So everybody, my name is Dan Smith. Thanks for being here. Part of the Orange County Realtors Real Interview Series. I'll be doing interviews and hosting guests throughout the month. And today we have the privilege of welcoming a friend of mine, an all-around awesome guy, and a person who runs a company that I'm not sure a lot of agents recognize exist, or if they do, they recognize they exist, what they actually do. So Tyler, thank you for being here today.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So I was telling somebody about this idea, and they said what I said several years ago when we first met. And we first met actually at one of your guys' events that you were hosting, like an after party.
Right.
And I had rolled in with the referral exchange crew.
Right.
And that's how we originally had met. And so when you told me what you did, I was like, I don't even know what that is. And I've been in the industry for like 20 years, right? So when I had an opportunity to pick some guests to expose agents to new things, I thought, oh, I got the guy, right? So tell everybody what it is you do, what it is, the second century, the reach, the whole shebang. If you can spend a couple minutes talking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a managing partner at Second Century Ventures and the REACH program. Second Century Ventures is really the strategic investment arm for the National Association of Realtors. So all of these strategic investments, strategic partnerships, those types of things run through us. We have structured it like a traditional venture fund, but with a single, what they call limited partner, so one investor. So beyond having kind of the traditional venture goals of venture type returns and finding the best technologies from a return perspective, we're also in business to find technologies that are committed to keeping realtors at the center of the real estate transaction. So our mission is really twofold: make great investments in these early stage companies, but also invest in companies where we can have a seat at the table and be part of the conversation in terms of shaping the technology to make sure that it's complementary to what realtors are doing, to ensure that it makes your job more efficient, your process more efficient, et cetera. So that's an incredible mission for us. We love it. We're one of the largest, what we call prop tech funds in the world now. It's a fairly unique fund, again, because we really just have the one investor, which keeps us aligned with realtors. The REACH program, on the other hand, was really designed to get us involved with companies at an earlier stage, earlier in the process. It's a technology accelerator, started back in 2013. We've had companies that all of you know, like BombBomb and Updater, Back At You Media, a number of other groups, Box Brownie, Curbio, et cetera, all participate in our program. And it's given us a chance, again, to work kind of in an earlier stage with some of these companies that we're really interested in. Again, the concept is we want to be proactive in our approach to technology, not reactive. We see what happens when you react to technology. It's not always a good thing. And so if we can proactively get involved with these companies at an earlier stage, bring them into the fold, help them understand the value of a realtor and what you do on a daily basis, and really have them design their solutions, their technologies to ensure that they're arming you with the right tools to go out and do your job. We found that we can get involved with incredible companies, we can help the realtor community, and we can have some really great returns as a venture capital group as well.
So when you guys talk about one investor, you've mentioned that, right? That is the National Association of Realtors. That is the investor, correct?
That's correct.
The big trade group, essentially, that everybody belongs to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they get their funding. They take a piece. How did that work? Do they take a piece of the dues?
Yeah, it's not dues funded.
They don't touch the realtor dues. So realtor dues are going, a lot of times I hear people get mistaken for that. They're taking our dues and then investing them, but that's not how it works, right?
No, they made some money on a subsidiary a long time ago. They made a loan to our venture fund a long time ago, which we've since repaid and then some. So really, this was not dues driven at all, but it was part of their second century initiatives to ensure that as we came into the 2000s, that we were doing everything possible to arm realtors with everything they need to be incredibly successful. And really, before that, from a technological perspective, the National Association, at least, was being really reactive when it came to technology. And I think they see that with a number of state and local associations as well. So the idea was, let's find a way to be creative, to put a little bit of money into this still, but really we kind of eat what we kill now. So as we make great investments and we have returns on those investments, the fund and our capabilities grow.
Okay. Awesome. So I think agents should really like to hear that, because I do know the few agents who heard about it then also thought like, well, where's this getting money from? How's it getting funded? So, and you've had a couple of really great companies. Let's talk about a couple of you mentioned some pretty big names just a few minutes ago with Bomb, with Box Brownie, right? And you've had a couple of unicorns, I guess we'll call them, out there, right? Let's talk about those.
Yeah, I think everyone knows NAR's involvement in the evolution of DocuSign, right? And them becoming kind of the juggernaut that they are. We were an early investor in DocuSign. We continue to be partners with them. We support them in what they do. And certainly that's a Cinderella story. I think every venture fund hopes for one of those types of deals in their lifetime. And so that's been great in terms of giving us some additional bandwidth to continue to be really supportive from a technological perspective when it comes to the realtor vertical community. But then we have companies that are really changing the game beyond that. And again, they're companies, like the Box Brownies, doing fairly simple stuff, but just doing it in such an incredible way that's so helpful. We've had Real Scout, Bomb, Updater's a really interesting one from a moving perspective. Notarize is an interesting company of ours. We love those guys. They're really pioneering the remote online notarization space. And it's been kind of timely considering what's going on in the world to ensure that we can still close on properties, et cetera, and that you don't have to be in person to get a notary, which is a bit of an archaic process. We have really high hopes for that group. Curbio participated in our program last year. Curbio does the pre-sale renovations at no cost to the seller. They take their costs out at closing, and they've shown incredible increase in home sales prices and in time to sell, et cetera. They've been a great friend to realtors, and they market exclusively through realtor channels. So that's an interesting
one because I hear, and I don't know who, there's some people on the chat. And by the way, everybody, if you have questions, go ahead and put it in the Q&A or go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm kind of looking at either. So if you have any questions for me or for Tyler, please go ahead and put those in there. So that one is really interesting because that is it's kind of technology driven, right? And it has become a way for some independent agents or brokerages to compete with the big dogs out there who have that kind of service under their huge hedge fund umbrella, right?
Right.
And being able to offer that, like, well, we don't have the pockets deep enough, Dan, in our brokerage with our 4 partners, and we're not a big brand that we're not Wall Street money behind us, but this is a way that kind of a technology, that's a great example. At DocuSign, it's obvious how it's changed everyone's lives, but that's a technology that's a great example of how it's really helping real estate agents as a whole, not just a brand necessarily.
Yeah, technology can really level the playing field, especially when you get into independents, small independent agents, et cetera. The other great thing is this is a great differentiator during kind of the listing appointment. You can go in and say, listen, we could sell your house today as is for this amount. However, I've got this great tool company I work with. We can do the following X, Y, and Z. In your home could be worth, Z instead. So that's been a great selling point for an individual to work with a specific agent as well. Curbio is interesting because they have the physical component of renovation, obviously, but what enables them to do that in a cost-effective way is the technology that powers it. It allows them to operate on a national basis, to keep costs down. And then they take the decision out of the consumer's hands in terms of the types of renovations, because and what you like in your home may not be what's selling right now, right? So They know what's selling. They know that it's this type of backsplash, this type of cabinet, et cetera. So they make those decisions because you're not staying in the home. They make those decisions for you. They make cost-effective renovations that are going to bring the best value.
And that's interesting because I saw that one of the people, you guys have hundreds, thousands of people who want to get involved with you annually, I would think, right? And I saw your finalists or your winners, whatever you call them,
right?
The chosen ones, from this year. And one of them was, what's the one that they do the fixes? I can't remember the name.
Punch List.
Punch List.
Yeah.
Punchlist.com, right?
Yeah.
That one seemed really amazing to me because on that same scale, it's like it's going to be nationwide, get your inspection report on Monday,
Mhm.
upload it to these guys.
Yep.
They'll give you on Tuesday a breakdown of what each things are going to cost, and you can make a decision whether or not you want to do them. Did I kind of give you the correct?
You did. They focus on kind of a different portion of the sales process, but something that all of you know about. You know about the punch list, right? You know, before you go to close, after you get the inspection, et cetera. These guys essentially take a process that's been very manual up to this point. They automate it. They economize it, and it kind of takes the brain damage out of it for the realtor as well in terms of your involvement, but you can ensure that work is done on behalf of your client. So yeah, we love those guys. And just to your point, we looked at this year over 1,600 companies, and I should say that the REACH program has evolved a bit over the last several years. We started with a residentially focused class in the US. Last year, we launched a commercially focused technology cohort as well. So we've got 2 that are based in the US. We launched our Reach Australia program in December of last year, which covers Southeast Asia and Australia. We really did that because we were seeing such great companies come out of Australia with Active Pipe and Box Brownie and Rate My Agent. And so we want to be with these companies early on in their process. And that's really been incredible. We're launching Reach Canada before the end of this year. And then we actually have the Reach United Kingdom program, which will be starting within the next 12 months. So we're going to have this global presence, but we see, you know, hundreds and now thousands of companies each year. And really, we select roughly 6 to 8 companies to participate in each of those individual programs.
Awesome. So I, during the Inman live virtual whatever conference that went on last week, that's when you guys had announced who was going to be the recipients for this year and who you're going to be working with. And
Right.
a lot of those companies, as you're going through that list, it was real. I was like, wow. And then I was like, wow. And then another one came, I was like, oh my God, it just keeps getting better. And Punch List was one of them.
Yeah.
Another one of them that I thought was super interesting and is going to be super interesting for real estate agents was the Igloo Me.
Yeah.
Right.
That's Igloo Home. They're participating in our Reach Australia program, but we had them participate in that. So you've got Igloo, which is really interesting. They partnered with a company of ours last year called Cleared. And they're doing kind of they're making these remote showings and or self showings available, which is important when you can't have a bunch of people gathering. They're already really big in Southeast Asia. We have a group out of the US called Kangaroo, which is a security company, and they're focused like the mid to smaller market, not super high-end custom homes. They have the most affordable hardware and monthlies out there, and they're going to be introducing something through the Realtor channel that I think is going to be really interesting.
I saw that, when they showed it kind of looked like a ring.
Yeah.
With the camera.
Yep.
But and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing for real estate agents because it was a fraction of the cost, and the host every month, instead of being a $19 or $29 contract, was like, I think I heard it was like $2.
Yeah, so
I was like, this is a game changer.
They actually have a free piece for real basic monitoring, and then it goes up to at the high end, it's like $19.95 a month, right? You know, but if you get with some of the higher end systems like Vivint, Brinks, et cetera, you're $49.95 a month and up. And so really, really affordable. And I think their approach in terms of attacking the market and becoming really good friends with realtors and insurance agents and some other things. And I don't want to reveal too much because they have a big rollout.
Right, because they're going to roll it out. You guys just announced that it was them, but what they did show seemed really interesting. Yeah, I wrote down Kangaroo. I wrote down Igloo Me. I had written down the Punch List.
Earnest is participating this year, which is kind of revolutionizing the way that we, make earnest money payments and eventually payments in general, because it's kind of crazy that we're using paper checks, but at the same time, you need kind of the checks and balances in place as you do that. So
in California, for brokers to not have to maintain the trust log with all of those checks and stuff coming in too. I mean, there's just a lot of, again, we're just streamlining it. And I think that a lot of this, what's the second that you wrote down? Give me 1 second for that, Sherry. I think all of this, these guys are way too far along that they thought, oh, pandemic, quick, let's make a product to display next week. These guys are way too far along for that. They've been thinking about this for the last year or two or three, that there was going to come a time. And then, all of a sudden that time is now. The Back to the Future has happened with the Marty McFly and the Flex capacitor has happened now, right? And so they're like ahead of the curve because they're not reacting. They were already working on this tech. And it's just, man, if I was a broker owner and I could get rid of a trust log, oh my gosh.
Right. Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of work there. Certainly as we get, similar to that, in nature, the title process, right? There's so much we can do to make that more efficient, safer, et cetera, by utilizing blockchain and some of the technologies that, that we're involved with out there. But really, it's interesting. If you look at the makeup of our class, and we just introduced the residential class at Inman, their virtual event. Really, these companies aren't what you call ideas. We're not an incubator. We're not taking concepts, right? We're taking groups that have proven a concept to some degree, and they want to increase their footprint in the real estate vertical. And that's where we come into play. So we really kind of accelerate their growth at that point. But so you have companies that are well established from a revenue perspective, like Ylopo.
Ylopo,
in the program,
exactly.
Right? I mean, they crush it. They work with some of the biggest names out there. They've had incredible traction. We love what they do. And really what their mission is by participating in our program is, one, letting more people know about why they're so awesome, what their value proposition is, et cetera. And so you've got this really interesting range of companies that we work with, from true startups that are just starting to scratch the surface from a revenue perspective to companies that are a little more established. And, we had companies in the past, like House Canary, before they came to the program, had raised almost $100 million. So this was not a startup in the traditional sense of startup, that they were a group that believed in the realtor community, and they wanted to be a part of it, and they wanted to be part of this proactive approach to making sure that technology was in the right hands and moving in the right direction. So,
all right, Cherry, let me get you answer. The first one we said was punch list. I'm not sure I don't know the exact order. So we also said kangaroo, and then we also said igloo me, but igloo spelled kind of weird.
Yeah, Igloo Home. Yeah, and I can send out a link where you can send it to everyone that participated so they can see all the companies and the bios and have access to their sites. So
yeah, if you would do that, send it to me, and then I'll send it to the board, and they can send it out to the membership.
Perfect.
For everybody.
Yeah, wonderful.
That'd be awesome. So it's coming, Sherry, but it was probably one of those three. All right. So what else? You got the title. You got that going on. Anything else? So you guys must be already. I mean, heck, we're in June. You guys must already starting to look at applications and companies by the hundreds for next year. It would seem like any time, right?
Not official. I mean, we launched this class in May virtually, both the residential and the commercial cohorts. They're in the process of kind of getting acclimated and getting into it. We have applications that come in all the time. We're actively taking applications soon for Reach Canada, although they've had a flood of kind of pre-applications from interested parties that know about our plans. They're coming in. There's going to be an incredible class there based on the applications we've seen. So yeah, really for us, our kind of active recruiting, we're always recruiting, right? If we find a group that we like what they're doing, we like the team, and team's just as important as the technology. In fact, more so, we look for talented, good individuals who are really committed to bettering the industry. And I think that's served us well, because you get these ambassadors like Andrew Flackner in the space, who's with Real Scout, and he's just, he believes, he cares about the space. You get a bunch of people just like that are really invested. So we're always looking for those types of people, and for, technologies that are real game changers. But for us, we kind of run our class from about the beginning of May through mid-November, which is usually when NAR has their big annual event. And then we start actively recruiting for the next year's class. So that's kind of the process, at least in the US. The global programs are staggered. They start at different times. The recruiting process is a bit different. And then from a fund perspective, SED really supports all of these companies kind of throughout the year. So we have active investments taking place all the time throughout the year.
If an agent wanted to know more about Reach, or an individual agent would never be in that class, but they just wanted to know more about Second Century and Reach and what's coming up, and just to get a little bit more info and stay in the know. And, now that they kind of know you exist, maybe some of them, this is new.
Yeah.
Is it just everything on the website? That's a good place.
Yeah. So you can go to secondcenturyventures.com or scd.vc, but also NAR/Reach. And I'll put this in this doc, so you've got a full resource center, not just the companies participating, but if you want to follow us, following us on LinkedIn, et cetera. It's a great way to see what's going on with the global cohort. That's really interesting. I think a lot of people really love kind of some of the things that are taking place in these other markets that could be applicable. They're not always bound by the same walls that we are here. And so sometimes you get innovation that's just a bit different coming out of some of these other geographic locations. So I'll put all of that together and we'll make sure you have everything that you need there.
Fantastic. So I'm going to ask a question kind of off topic real quick. If anybody, Sherry said yes, send an email. You got it. If anybody has anything, again, questions, comments, want to know something, put it in chat, put it in Q&A. So let's go off topic of Reach and Second Century just a little bit and just talk about Tyler. How'd you get into this? Give us like your history a little bit. I mean, because you're not the oldest looking guy in the room right now. So how did you get involved in this?
Yeah, so I'm a lifetime. By the way, can you guys hear me okay? I saw that someone said they were having a hard time hearing me.
I can hear you really well.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's because I'm headsetted up. Maybe they're not, but I've got you like.
Great. Let me know if that's a problem. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, and I also love real estate. I grew up in a family that did a bit of both. And so I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I've started a number of companies in various verticals. I've had a number of different types of exits. And then on the other side of that, I've been involved with real estate as an investor, developer, et cetera. I actually started a company that went through the REACH program back in 2014 called Deductor. It was a tool designed to help independent contractors, real estate agents, maximize their tax deductions by tracking expenses, mileage, time in an automated fashion. So I met my partners, my current partners then. I sold that company and I became a partner of Second Century Ventures and Reach, which was really an incredible opportunity for me to kind of marry the two things I love the most, which is technology and real estate. And a really unique position to be in terms of having the opportunity to meaningfully kind of impact a vertical that I think is incredibly important. I care a lot about. So it was a great opportunity for me. I've got two partners in the business, Mark Birschbach, who's based in Chicago, Dave Garland, who's based in the Bay Area. I actually live in Provo, Utah, just south of Salt Lake City. So we've got a virtual team. We've got team members in DC, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, kind of all over the place, now globally as well.
Awesome. Cherry, you asked what's that name? Give me one more on that, if you would. If you type in like which piece are you talking about with his name? All right. And so you got kind of, and everybody pay attention to this. You got stay-at-home ordered with the rest of us.
Yep.
Right? And March kind of disappeared, mid-March forward, and April pretty much disappeared.
Yeah. Right?
Now, for most real estate agents, it seems like May disappeared too. And they started like Puxatawny Phil, right? They started poking their head out of the hole to see if it was good to come out and go back to work. But you've been back at it since when? And talk about what back at it means.
Yeah, so I've been traveling since the beginning of May. I did stay home for basically March and April, which was great. It's the longest I've been home in the last 10 years in a consecutive period. And it was nice to see my wife and the kids. But we do a lot of business, especially when we're making investments from the fund, where it's important sometimes to look someone in the eyes. And I think that's an important piece. And so when I felt for certain deals in certain locations that it was safe to travel again, I started traveling. And so I've been traveling the last, call it 6 weeks. And it's been great. In fact, in the beginning, it was really easy because no one was on the plane. I'm flying basically alone. I had one flight where there were two of us on the plane, and they had us separated by 37 seats. So, which was interesting. It's starting to fill up a bit, and that's a good thing. But I think people are slowly getting back to it. People are being careful. I mean, people are wearing masks on planes, and they're cleaning planes a different way than they have in the past. And so all these things are great. But it's been good for us. This is a real busy time for us once we launched the REACH classes, the programs themselves, and we've got a bunch of active investments we're working on. So it was important to get back out there.
Awesome. And right now, everybody, so this is a good little lesson for all of you, that if you get distracted, you find yourself as agents, you never know where you're going to be. If somebody watched one of mine last week, I ended up doing a session from the back seat of my F-150 because it's actually pretty spacious back there. And I got a big old panel thing that I could put the laptop on for the camera. And I just pulled over, parked, and did an hour-long session while I was mobile because that's as good as I could get it at that time, because just stuff happened, traffic happened. So you had traffic happen, sort of, Tyler. So tell everybody, because right now you look like you're at this really cool open space reach office.
Right.
But where are you in fact?
Well, I'm going to be real honest. I am actually at the Milwaukee airport, and I am in a off the beaten path family bathroom. It was the only place that had a speaker where it wouldn't disrupt it. And I've pulled up my Reach virtual background, which, God bless Zoom and the technology here. So it's the miracle of technology, right? So I hope it hasn't been too much of a distraction, the comings and goings here in the airport. But yeah,
we haven't heard a thing, just so you know.
Good, wonderful.
So from our standpoint, we haven't heard a single thing. It's been completely silent. So that's why I wanted everybody to. And I told Tyler, I was like, let's tell them that like halfway through or towards the end, kind of surprise them. They'd be like, see, no matter where you're at, you can get this kind of business done right now. Right. Cherry, the name was Reach. The name of the course that you took. So it was just a Reach commercial course.
I took a company through the accelerator that we now run. So
the accelerator. Okay, there you go. All right. So now you are in Provo, and you've got 4 kids.
4 kids.
3 of them are triplets. Can you believe that, guys? That's triplets. And then one of them was in New York, because he goes to school in performing arts in New York.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
And how tough was it to get him home?
Well, so my oldest is a girl, and she's a dancer. She's been in New York for a couple of years now, and she was locked down. It was an interesting situation. She's up on 81st Street in the Upper East Side, and she had a couple of roommates with her. But for 2 months, I tried to get her home, and they kept canceling the flights, and then it was really kind of worrisome. And I thought it might be better for her just to hunker down for a bit. So we finally got her home a few weeks back, which has been really good. I feel much better about having her in Utah. We just haven't had the same numbers with COVID-19 as other parts of the country. And then I have triplets, 2 girls and a boy that are 17. They're going to be seniors in high school next year. So this honestly was a blessing for me to be home and have everyone there and not kind of doing their own things. And it's been a really interesting time, a good time for our family. So.
Eric Sachs has a son that dances in New York too.
I met him. I met him at Inman in January.
Yeah. Okay, it was like pulling teeth apparently to get that kid home. He's like, I've been waiting a whole life to get out of Colorado, and to get to New York, and now I'm here, and you're telling me I have to go back home. He wasn't having it apparently, so there's a little bit of a struggle. Now
we had a bit of that. We had a bit of that too. So yeah.
Check this out. Eric hasn't been able to get back out there yet, and his lease is up in 14 more days or 15 more days. So he's right now scrambling with trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do with that lease? Because I got to get out there and move this stuff, and it's still tough to fly and move.
Right.
It's just total chaos, right? So let's talk about the chaos. Okay. What did you notice? You're not day to day like we're talking to agents about listing and selling homes from that platform, that level, but you're still like really super ingrained in the real estate community and in their world. Yeah. What did you see agents doing or hear about agents doing, even for the people you're talking to, that didn't really let what was happening stop their momentum? Do you have any stories like that or anything?
Yeah, we deal with a lot of practitioners, and we have them as mentors for the companies in our Reach program. We have friends in the industry, people we see at events that we know well. And then we stay really close to the companies themselves, and we get to hear, what are your challenges? What are your customers saying that are realtors? What are they saying? What are they experiencing? And I think you had a few weeks of just total confusion, right? It was a new world, especially with the stay at home. People didn't know, how am I going to operate? How do I do this, right? How do I show? I think the thing I was really impressed with, and this wasn't surprising. This was really an affirmation, I think, of what I knew, but I was really impressed with practitioners I knew. Just being incredibly innovative and having great attitudes. And I think they understood from a macro level, for an economic level, that, supply is still low, interest rates are low. So this isn't like the last time we went through a financial crisis, right? So this should be different. Like once you get through the chaos and people start to normalize whatever that looks like, not necessarily going back to the same, that there should be a spike in terms of sales, et cetera. But I was really impressed with how innovative realtors became, and that, really practitioners, people who aren't hobbyists, but that are full-time, this is what they do, this is what they love. I was really impressed with how proactive they were about finding solutions to help them get around some of these barriers, whether it was the way they were communicating with people, how they were closing on properties. We saw a bunch of states adopt remote online notarization and a bunch of full digital closings taking place, which was incredible. We had some people show an increase in business during this time because they were reaching out and they were focused on people and kind of the noise. They put the noise aside and they just focused on meaningful relationships and taking care of their customers, et cetera. And I think you saw maybe the best of what technology can do in terms of just keeping people connected and efficient. And now we have some new questions as you move into this, like how do we operate moving forward? Maybe it's a bit of a hybrid of how we operated in the past. Maybe you do come into an office every once in a while, but maybe you can work from home for a bit. And maybe some of this stuff we've done in the past in person that hasn't been the most efficient, we can do in a virtual manner. So I was incredibly impressed with kind of the spirit, just the general spirit of not just getting completely depressed and down about the situation and people being really innovative in terms of how they started to solve the problem. And I know there were some places that were hit harder and some things were put on hold entirely, and it's kind of hard to get around that. But some people that had some wiggle room in terms of their locations around the country showed some real moxie and some, they were incredibly innovative in terms of how they approached that. So
there are some people, like we're in California, right? And open houses are still not allowed. Right. We're hoping they're going to be allowed when we went to phase 3 on Friday, because we did. But the word came down on Friday that we're still not doing open houses. And it's interesting because winners always find a way to win, right? Like that quarterback that was for the Broncos. I can't think of his name now. Tim Tebow, worst quarterback of all time. Like people tell you, right? He's just unskilled, short, nothing good, nothing about that guy. No matter what he did, he won. No matter where he went, he won. And they said, well, you can't keep that up. But winners find a way to win. Yeah. We've seen some agents out here in the last week or so in California being super creative and finding a way to win, finding a way to still work, because the local powers that be, the California Association of Realtors, has said you can meet clients at houses, you can book time blocks to show people at houses, but you can't advertise open houses. There could be no advertisements using the word open houses. Right. And so using technology, right, winners find a way to win. We've found people who are saying, okay, great, let's do an appointment house. Right. Right. And they're doing an appointment house. You want to come see the house? It's going to be a home that I'm going to be at. And you can come see it when you want on Saturday between the hours of 1 and 4. This is not an open house. This is an appointment house. Click this link to book your time. Yeah. And so they're just using Calendly. Mm-hmm. Right? The free 99 version.
Yeah, I love it.
I'll take the 1 o'clock slot. I'll take the 1:15 slot. The really smart ones are also leaving some slots open. So if they get some walk-in traffic, they can have them sign in and go back to at the front door with the table, go back to their car and wait in air conditioning until it's their time. And so I know a lot of people really rely on open houses as an example. And some people who were doing a lot of business have now shifted, and they're doing these appointment houses in place of, and they're getting 12 people to come through in 15-minute blocks in a 3 to 4 hour window. Right. That's pretty amazing. That's finding a way to work within the rules and still get something done. Right.
Yeah. I want to add something, because I think beyond just being innovative and finding a way to win. And I love that because I've seen it. And it doesn't always mean that you're not going to see a dip, right? But these people also know that they're playing the long game, and that you're going to see kind of the peak on the other side of that. And ultimately, you're going to find a way to make it. The other piece I've seen that I think has just been incredible is the commitment that I've seen from realtors to kind of bettering themselves, educating themselves, et cetera. NAR actually put out a program called Right Tools Right Now during the pandemic, where they offered a bunch of free courses and steep discounts for certain technologies, et cetera. They've had a really good response in terms of people taking advantage of that, and it's members all over the country taking advantage of that. The most activity, and it's in thousands and thousands of people have taken these CE courses they've offered at no cost or at low cost, and a number of things where there's been this incredible spike in just kind of educating yourself, bettering yourself, learning about a specific certification or designation or whatever it is to kind of be better at your craft. So I really love this, the fact that people have been innovative from a technological perspective, they refuse to quit. They find a way to keep moving, to keep growing, to stay connected. And the other side, and this is great, what a great opportunity just to kind of better yourself and to become better educated, maybe with your own space or something that you're just starting to learn about.
You know, we run in the same circles a lot when we're at events and stuff, and kind of all know the same people. And that's been something that's been overarching, that I've heard a lot of really good producing agents and brokers, really successful, have said, as successful as I am, as much as I know, right, as good as I do, these last 2.5 months, I've learned more than I have in the last 10 years. And this is from some people who might do 50 to 100 transactions a year, right? Who are great producers and really knowledgeable and really techie. And they've even said, over the last 2.5 months or so, I have learned more than I probably have in a decade, because there's been so much available for me. And I finally had a little bit of time to do it. I wasn't having to be out showing homes or listing homes all day long. I had these gigantic blocks of time that I couldn't find another way to fill. I still wanted to be productive. And so I've taken the step of learning and attending as many things as I could to learn as much as I could. And it's overwhelming to me how much I didn't know.
Right. Yeah.
And that's been, I've heard that probably more than I've heard anything else from successful agents, that they're really appreciating this is a time that they got to go back. You know, we all wish we could go back to college. Right? We all wish, we're like, if only I could just go, I would study till my eyes fell out. I would love to just research and study. Of course, when we were there, all we did was bitch about it because we wanted to go out and hang out and do some other fun stuff, right? But if we had the opportunity to stop time and to go back and to spend a semester at college again, that would be a gift, right? And we've almost had that in this world, that we had to stop time and we've had the opportunity to go get our master's degree in real estate with all the things there are to learn. Right? We got a question. Is there a way of recording this? The first part was echoing. Yeah, I think we are recording it. It is definitely recording. And so it will be sent out from the board. The association will be sending it out to you guys. And I haven't had an echo on my side yet. But I know one person said they couldn't hear you. And I know somebody else said they had an echo. But I think that might be individual computers. So, all right. So you've seen some really great stuff. Let's talk about coming up in the future. What should agents be thinking about as far as tech? What should their mindset be about tech and what's coming up in 2020, 21, 22? Because you kind of have a little bit better feel about what's in the pipeline of development right now than maybe we do. What should agents be thinking about tech? Like, what's their mindset on that?
Yeah, I think the first thing I'd say to agents is don't be afraid of technology. I mean, we're kind of tired about hearing about disruption and disintermediation, et cetera. But I think it's a real fear for a number of agents that there are some technologies that would come around and displace you. I think real estate is the one of the few things that can't be truly disrupted, because it's such an emotional thing, right? And it's such a big purchase, and really you need a trusted advisor. You need a realtor as a part of that in order to feel good about the process. Yeah, there are some people that cash offer sight unseen, and you see some on the commercial side where it's a little less emotional. But for the vast majority of people purchasing homes, this isn't going to change, right? This will be the biggest purchase of their lives, and it's scary, right? So you have that on your side. We look at technology as a way to just strengthen that position, right? So my first thing is, regardless of what the technologies are that are coming down the pipe, embrace technology and get involved. Look at what's coming. Look at the players. Look at the companies that we're bringing through our Reach program and what they're doing. Get educated. And I think what you're going to find is, especially with companies that work with us, they're all building stuff that is really designed to complement you, to really empower you, right? And to help you operate from a position of power. And again, I want to punctuate the fact that, our mission, first and foremost, is to ensure that we're investing in technologies that keep realtors at the center of the transaction. So I guess that's my first advice is embrace it, right? Get comfortable with it. There's some incredible technologies out there and have been for some time. And the fact is, even companies that do really well, they have very little penetration when it comes to, if you look at the entire realtor population, no one has 1.4 million users, not even close, right? So you have a very small component of practitioners that are utilizing technology. So I think there's always an opportunity to learn more about it and to pick up a few things that might help you in your business. Now, the nice thing is that there's so many great technologies and all of you have unique businesses. There's not a one size fits all, but there are so many great providers out there that I think you can find some things that be incredibly helpful. I'm really looking forward as we move forward to some of the advancement in what we're going to see in some of the complementary verticals like mortgage and title and insurance. These are all pieces of the real estate puzzle. And if you think about the current process, it's totally disjointed from what you do as realtors to, closing on a mortgage and dealing on that side to title. That you've got these kind of, it's a bit disjointed. And some of those processes, believe it or not, are behind where we are in real estate. Real estate, from a technological perspective, usually lags, by several years. I think when you look at mortgage, insurance, title, escrow, et cetera, they're well behind real estate. They're dealing with archaic, methodologies, et cetera. So I'm looking for some real advancement there. All of that will make the consumer experience of buying a home better, which is good for realtors, right? So, and then really just kind of efficiency tools, learning how to be more efficient in terms of the way that leads are generated. I think there are companies that are doing really interesting things there. I think there are things that are keeping realtors in touch with their clients post-transaction that are really interesting. We have this survey at NAR where we talk about 80+% of buyers say that they'd use the same realtor again. And then when it comes down to it, like only 15% of them do.
Right.
Why is that, right? Because you haven't been able to stay top of mind. So there's some opportunities to do that. But I'd say this, we do something with Reach called the Insight Panel, where we kind of keep you posted on companies and what they're doing. We give you a sneak peek at what's coming down the pipe, et cetera. I'd recommend, and I'll put this into that document that you'll send out, I'd recommend that all of you sign up to be participants in the Insight Panel. We also do something, which is our mentor program. You do have to apply for that. There are limited spots. We only have about 400 mentors around the country. But if you think that you're in a position where you might be a good mentor to some of these upstarts, then we'd love for you to apply to participate. We're always looking for new great mentors, but there are a number of ways that you can get involved and be actively involved in the conversations that are going to help shape these companies as they grow and as they develop their new technologies.
Yeah, I think California is like a little jaded. Like we don't ever really get to participate in the presidential elections, as an example. Like we can vote, but they've already given their announcement speeches. Congratulations on winning, or they're endorsing the other person because they've already backed out before we close our polls. Like it's just one of those things. Whenever it comes into nationwide stuff because of a 3-hour time difference, I think a lot of Californians, every vote matters, but we kind of feel like every vote doesn't matter when it's ours sometimes. And so that's a really interesting thing because, that we can reach out and get involved here in California at something at the national level, because again, NAR is not based on the West Coast, right? They've got some offices in San Francisco and in LA, but they are based on the East Coast. So that's a way for agents who want to get involved, to know more, to not feel like they're kind of displaced out here in a wonderful state, by the way. If you're going to be displaced, go to California.
Right.
But that's a really good, I think a lot of agents would like to figure out other ways to participate other than maybe just sitting on their local associations, just sitting on their grievance committees, kind of the rules ones that the most associations have.
Yeah.
I think this is a way that a lot of agents can get involved in what they think is actually learning more about the business and having input on the future of their business, that maybe the ones who just want to do volunteer work locally at the association isn't a good fit for.
Right. Yeah.
That's really awesome. I can't wait. So you guys will have all that info in the document he sends over. His flight got delayed. And so as soon as he jumps off of this, he's literally going to go get in line to get on the plane. So it might be a day or two before I get it. But as soon as I get it from you, I'll put it through the association and then they can send it out to everybody.
Perfect.
Hey, one last, let's say any other questions, guys and gals, before we wrap this up. Go ahead and ask them, and either in the Q&A or in the chat. And while you do that, I'll ask Tyler one more question, but then after that, I'm going to read and see if we have any others, and then we'll cut him loose so we can get in line at the airplane and leave the bathroom. People probably waiting outside that bathroom going like, what is he doing in there? That's a long trip. All right. So where do people see you? Where do people meet you? Does Reach ever do events that people can get involved in? Does Reach ever?
Yeah, we do. We do. Well, you've been to a few of our events. Those are we're famous for our after hours events. So those take place at some of the industry meetings. So at both of NER's meetings in DC, and then wherever they did their annual meeting, at the Inman events, the big brand events. You know, we're all of them, from Remax and Keller, Leading RE, Berkshire Hathaway, et cetera. And then we participate in a number of state events as well. And then we have a number of our companies that participate all over those same events as speakers, as panelists. Sometimes we do mentor sessions there. Sometimes we're doing kind of demo days and those types of things. And so we're trying to be in more places. Obviously, there are a lot of events going on and people are going to different places. But when we get a large gathering with a brand or a state association or local association or the national level, we participate in one manner or another. And we're always around, and our team's great. I mean, if you have questions for me directly, I'd love to chat with you, and we'd love to see you out. And we have a lot of fun too. I mean, this is, as I mentioned, as much about the people, and so we work really hard during the day, and we have a lot of fun at night with some of the events. I think, and I don't know which one you came to, if it was one of the ping pong.
I think the first one. I've been to a couple, but the ping pong was the first one.
Yeah. So we have a lot of fun, and certainly would love to see you at some of these events. I think we had Car on the schedule, the state association one. I'm not sure what the plan is with that. I don't know if it's taking place virtually or if they're going to actually have the event. But certainly, as things open back up, we'll be back on the road and participating in those events.
Awesome. All right, anybody? Last chance. Any questions? Tyler, thank you for being here.
Absolutely,
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Travel safe, fly safe. Hopefully the plane stays empty. That'd be awesome. But I know this up. My first flight, I actually have been homebound this whole time, but I've got a flight next week and then a flight 3 weeks after that. So I am slowly but surely getting back on the road too. And I hope that the empty seats last a little bit longer.
Good luck.
I get to experience a tiny bit of that maybe.
For a bit longer. Yeah, there you go. Great.
All right, man. Well, hey, everybody, thank you for being here. I appreciate you watching. Those of you on Facebook, live streaming, those of you who are watching the recording, I know that this gets sent out to all 15,000 plus members as well to watch. If you're watching it delayed, thanks for watching the repeat. Tyler, again, thank you so much, my friend.
My pleasure.
And one of these days, we'll find ourselves in the same spot sometime and can hang out.
Great. Thanks. Good to see you.
Bye-bye, everybody.